Hey guys, tonight we're going to leave the busyness of the outside world behind and step into something a little more tranquil. Imagine you're sitting quietly, maybe with a warm blanket, maybe with the soft hum of a fan in the background. Your mind is free to wander, to explore, not far, but to the hidden wonders of the world around us. The wonders that aren't always on display, but which, when you really stop to think about it, make the world feel just a little more magical. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from, so feel free to share your location and the time there in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Tonight we'll begin by thinking small, so small, in fact, that you can't even see it with your naked eye. Let's start under your feet, where the world is alive with unseen activity. Beneath the ground lies a bustling network that many of us don't even realize exists. Imagine this, a single teaspoon of soil. It's a tiny amount, right? Something you could hold in one hand, maybe without even thinking much of it. But here's the crazy part. Inside that one small teaspoon, there could be more life than there are people on this entire planet. Think about that for a second. Billions of tiny creatures, from bacteria and fungi to protozoa and tiny nematodes, all packed into that small, inconspicuous scoop of Earth. They work silently, busily breaking down dead leaves, recycling nutrients, and creating the perfect conditions for plants to grow. It's a city of life, but we don't see it. We only see the result of their work, the lush green grass, the flowers, the trees. Those little life forms are the reason plants thrive, why forests grow, and why life on land continues to exist. Without them, plants would struggle to survive and everything above ground would collapse. It's humbling to think that, while we walk around completely unaware, the Earth is teeming with life in a way we can't even begin to imagine. And it's not just this teaspoon of soil that's alive. Scientists are still discovering new species living under the surface, ones that have never been studied before. Whole new forms of life, hidden in plain sight, silently working to keep the world in balance. We walk on top of this vast underground system, never knowing it's there. And yet, it plays such a crucial role in everything. The air we breathe, the plants we see, the food we eat, it's all connected to this invisible world beneath the surface. The earth beneath your feet is like a quiet engine, running day and night, tirelessly supporting life without a single sound. And as we breathe in the fresh air or feel the cool breeze brushing against our skin, we can rest easy knowing there's a hidden force out there, working tirelessly to make sure the world keeps turning, the cycles keep going, and life keeps growing. But let's leave that tiny, secret world for a moment and look at something else that's a little more dramatic, though still just as quiet. Did you know that there are plants in the world that can move so quickly they seem almost alive? I'm not talking about a slow bend of a stem toward the sun. No, there are certain plants that can catch their dinner in less than a second. Imagine watching a flower, a leaf, just sitting there, and then, before you can even blink, it snaps shut with such force that an insect caught inside has no time to react. That's the Venus flytrap, one of nature's most famous predators. The snap of its jaws happens so fast that it's over before the insect knows what hit it. All it took was the delicate touch of a tiny hair inside the trap. The moment those hairs are triggered twice in quick succession, the trap snaps shut, sealing the insect inside. For the flytrap, it's all about survival. These plants grow in poor, nutrient-deprived soil, so they rely on catching insects to get the nitrogen they need to survive. And when they do, well, it's a moment of stillness before the feeding begins. But don't worry, this isn't some kind of horror story. It's just nature's way of adapting to tough conditions. Some plants, like the sundew or the water wheel plant, even trap their prey underwater. The process is remarkably efficient. The plant doesn't rush, but the speed at which it catches and digests prey is nothing short of impressive. It's as though these plants have perfected a technique over millions of years, waiting patiently for the perfect moment to act. Now, I know that might sound a little unsettling, but as we ease into our journey tonight, I want you to imagine something far more serene, yet still incredibly ancient. Some trees live for thousands of years. Can you picture it? Trees standing silently, watching as the world around them changes, civilizations rise and fall, while they remain rooted in the same place, year after year. One of the oldest living organisms on Earth is the bristlecone pine, found in the American West. These trees can live for over 4,000 years. Imagine that. A single tree that began life before the pyramids of Egypt were even built, still standing tall, silently observing the passing of time. These trees are resilient. They grow slowly, their bark twisted and worn, weathered by wind and snow. Yet, inside their cores, they hold the history of the earth, the story of every season they've survived. You can stand next to one and feel like you're in the presence of something eternal. It's almost as if these trees are quietly telling you that time is much longer than we can comprehend. They don't rush. They don't need to. They adapt to the harshest of conditions, letting parts of themselves die back during difficult years, only to grow again when the conditions improve. They're a living record of the Earth's history, and their presence reminds us of the quiet endurance of nature. And what if I told you that certain fungi can actually control the minds of insects? It sounds like something from a science fiction movie, but it's real, and it's happening right under our noses in the undergrowth of tropical forests. There's a fungus called Ophiocordyceps, and it has an unsettling yet fascinating way of surviving. When an ant or another insect falls victim to the fungus, it infects the insect's body and starts to spread. Then, it releases chemicals that take control of the insect's brain. The insect, now a puppet, climbs to the highest point it can find. The fungus then kills its host and grows a stalk from the insect's body, releasing spores into the air to infect others. It's like a gruesome, yet eerily efficient strategy. The fungus's goal is simple: ensure that it can spread its spores as far as possible. The higher the insect climbs, the further the spores will be dispersed. It's a strategy that's been perfected over millions of years, and it's a reminder that nature often operates on a level that can feel almost otherworldly. So, let's pause for a moment and take in the scale of it all. From tiny creatures in the soil to plants that move at lightning speed, ancient trees, and parasitic fungi, the natural world is full of hidden marvels. It's a world where life finds a way to adapt, to survive, and to thrive in conditions that seem impossible. And we, as humans, are just beginning to understand how vast and intricate this web of life truly is. It's easy to forget, when we're caught up in the rush of everyday life, that the world around us is brimming with these quiet wonders. From the ground beneath our feet to the trees that have been alive for millennia, nature is full of secrets, some of which we may never fully understand. But tonight, we're here to listen, to slow down, and to let these quiet mysteries sink in like a soft melody drifting through the night. As we continue this journey together, remember that the wonders of the natural world aren't just about the big things we can see. They're also about the small, quiet moments that we often overlook, the ones that are just waiting for us to notice. Now that we've explored the tiny, unseen world beneath our feet, let's take a deep breath and step into something a little more startling. Picture this. You're walking through a dense forest, the air thick with the scent of moss and damp earth. The trees are tall, their canopies stretching far above you, filtering the sunlight into soft, dappled patches on the forest floor. It's peaceful here, but what if I told you that some of the plants growing around you in this very forest could move faster than you ever thought possible? It sounds almost impossible, right? Plants, those gentle, rooted beings we tend to think of as stationary, don't exactly come to mind when we think about speed. But certain species have evolved to move with surprising rapidity. One of the most famous examples is the Venus flytrap. This plant can snap its leaves shut in less than a second when a tiny hair inside its trap is triggered twice by an unsuspecting insect. Blink, and the trap is already closed, holding its prey in a death grip. It's one of nature's most dramatic and sudden movements. What's even more amazing is how it happens. The Venus flytrap has no muscles like an animal. Its movement is all about changes in pressure inside its cells, like a balloon inflating and deflating in the blink of an eye. The whole process is incredibly efficient, allowing the plant to capture its prey almost effortlessly. But the Venus flytrap isn't the only plant that moves with speed. Imagine a plant that catches prey underwater. Meet the water wheel plant. Unlike other carnivorous plants, it traps its food in a clever way by spinning its traps underwater to catch tiny aquatic insects. The leaves don't just snap shut, they spin, creating a vortex that pulls in the unfortunate insect. The way it works is simple but effective. The water wheel plant relies on the rapid movement of its leaves, creating enough momentum to capture prey that drifts too close. These plants have mastered the art of capturing prey in a way that many animals would envy. These movements, while fascinating, are not just for show. They serve a vital purpose. You see, these plants grow in soils that are poor in nutrients, so they rely on these high-speed traps to obtain nitrogen from their prey. By capturing insects, they get the nourishment they need to survive. But it's not just about speed, it's also about timing. Every trap is carefully calibrated, waiting for just the right moment. When an insect stumbles into the trap, the plant moves quickly, making sure that it doesn't escape. It's a masterclass in precision, and when you watch it happen, it feels almost unsettling, as if the plant has a mind of its own. But let's take a step back now. We've seen how plants can move at remarkable speeds, how they've adapted to harsh environments where nutrients are scarce. But what about something even older, something that has been alive long before the idea of capturing prey in such a dynamic way? What about the trees, those slow, silent giants that have stood the test of time, watching as centuries pass by? Some trees, like the bristlecone pine, are among the oldest living organisms on Earth. These ancient trees have seen civilizations rise and fall, and yet they continue to stand tall, their gnarled branches twisted by the winds of time. These trees grow slowly, taking their time as they reach for the sky. They don't rush, they simply endure. And that endurance is what makes them so extraordinary. A single bristlecone pine can live for over 4,000 years, surviving in some of the harshest conditions imaginable. They grow in arid, mountainous regions, where the winds howl and the sun beats down relentlessly. Yet, despite the extreme conditions, they continue to grow, year after year, their roots firmly planted in the earth. These trees don't just survive, they thrive. They're a living record of the Earth's history, a testament to the resilience of nature. When you stand near one of these ancient trees, you're in the presence of something that began life long before the pyramids were ever built. You're standing in the shadow of a tree that has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, that has weathered countless storms, and that has stood through the changing of the seasons for millennia. And in their silence, these trees hold stories of a world that few of us can truly understand. But let's not get lost in the stillness of time just yet. There's more to explore, creatures that can freeze themselves, and fungi that can control minds. Yes, I know that sounds a little like something out of a sci-fi movie, but nature has a way of surprising us, doesn't it? So, let's take another deep breath and dive a little deeper into the mysteries that surround us. Now, let's turn to the world of fungi. Picture this: a small ant marching along the forest floor, unaware of the danger lurking just above its head. Somewhere nearby, a fungus is quietly spreading, waiting for the perfect moment. That moment comes when the ant stumbles upon it, and the fungus begins its strange work. As it infects the ant, it takes control of the insect's brain, forcing it to leave its colony and climb to a high perch. The fungus's chemicals change the ant's behavior, guiding it to a place where it can die allowing the fungus to grow and release spores that will fall to the ground below. It's like a biological puppet master, controlling its host in order to spread its spores far and wide. This strange relationship between fungi and insects is a perfect example of nature's ingenuity. The fungus Ophiocordyceps, which can take control of an ant's body, is just one of many examples of parasitic organisms that manipulate their hosts for survival. The fungus has evolved to ensure that its spores are spread in the most effective way possible, making sure that the next generation has a better chance of survival. It's a process that's as unsettling as it is fascinating. And it's not just the fungus that's involved in this strange drama. The ant, too, plays its part, unaware that it is simply a vessel for something much larger. So, now we've journeyed from the tiny world beneath our feet to the towering trees that have witnessed centuries pass by, to the strange world of parasitic fungi controlling the minds of their hosts. But I want to pause for a moment and ask you to reflect on something. Think about how, in nature, everything is connected. Every organism, from the tiniest microbe to the tallest tree, plays a role in the ecosystem. And yet, we often overlook these connections, taking for granted the world around us. Tonight, I want you to remember that there's so much more to the world than meets the eye. Every leaf, every stone, every rustling breeze holds secrets waiting to be discovered. And as we move forward, I invite you to stay curious and open to the mysteries that lie ahead. Now that we've ventured deep into the mysteries of the plant world, from the snap of a flytrap to the ancient stillness of bristlecone pines, let's keep walking through the wonders that nature has carefully hidden away. Imagine this. A storm is brewing far off in the distance. The air is thick with the scent of rain, the clouds gathering dark and heavy, swirling like a slow, deliberate dance. And then, out of nowhere, you see it, the strange, surreal sight of fish falling from the sky. Yes, fish. It's one of the more bizarre and magical phenomena in nature, but it's real. In a small town in Honduras called Yoro, they call it Lluvia de Pex, the rain of fish. Several times a year, after intense thunderstorms, the streets are covered with small fish flopping around, as though they've been dropped from the sky itself. How is this even possible? Well, scientists have found that powerful winds, sometimes in the form of waterspouts or tornadoes, can pick up fish from nearby rivers or the sea and carry them inland. As the storm rages, it drops the fish, along with the rain, onto the ground below. It's a rare event, and to those who witness it, it feels almost like a miracle, as if nature itself is sharing a secret. But it's not just fish that have been known to rain down in some parts of the world. Similar reports have surfaced about frogs, crabs, and even jellyfish. It's a reminder of just how strange and unpredictable our planet can be. To see it, to witness the flurry of creatures tumbling from the sky, would be a moment so surreal, you might question whether you're still in reality. But this is nature, and sometimes the rules don't always make sense. Sometimes the world gets a little more magical than we expect. And speaking of unexpected, what if I told you that certain creatures can survive being frozen solid? It sounds like something you'd see in a movie, right? But it's actually one of nature's most incredible feats. In the far north, where winter temperatures drop to unimaginable lows, certain animals have found a way to survive the coldest of winters. Take the wood frog, for example. This little creature from Alaska can survive temperatures so low that up to 2/3 of its body freezes solid. Its heart stops beating, its blood stops flowing, and yet it's not dead. Instead, it enters a state of suspended animation, waiting for the thaw. The frog's secret? It produces special compounds like glucose, which act as natural antifreeze. These compounds protect the cells from bursting as the body freezes. When the warmth of spring returns, the frog thaws out. Its heart begins to beat again, and it hops away as if nothing ever happened. It's as if the frog simply hit the pause button on life, waiting until the conditions were right for it to resume. This ability isn't just limited to frogs. Certain insects, fish, and even microscopic creatures known as tardigrades can survive extreme freezing. The mechanisms they use are as varied as the creatures themselves, but all share one thing in common: a remarkable ability to cheat death by freezing. Now let's shift gears a bit and look up at the sky. In fact, let's look at something that most of us take for granted, yet it's constantly happening above the US. Lightning. Lightning is one of the most dramatic and awe-inspiring natural phenomena. Every day, there are millions of lightning strikes across the globe, over 8 million to be exact. That's more than 90 strikes every second. You've seen it, right? The way the sky lights up in a flash of brilliant white, followed by the deep rumble of thunder. But what's happening in the sky isn't just a flashy display. It's part of a much larger process that shapes our planet's chemistry. When a lightning bolt strikes, it generates temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun, up to 30,000 degrees Celsius. That intense heat causes the air around the bolt to expand explosively, creating the thunder we hear. But lightning does more than just light up the sky. It plays a crucial role in our planet's chemistry. The powerful electrical charges in the storm help form nitrogen oxides, compounds that are essential for plants and other organisms. In the tropics, where storms are frequent, the night sky often flickers with these distant flashes, a silent reminder of the constant energy buzzing through our atmosphere. We don't often think about lightning in this way, how it contributes to life itself. We see it as a fleeting, dramatic event, a light show that captivates us for a moment before it's gone. But in reality, lightning is far more than just a visual spectacle. It's a powerful force of nature that helps sustain life. And when you pause to think about it, that flash of light, followed by the rumble of thunder, becomes something deeper, something tied to the very fabric of our existence. But let's step away from the sky for a moment and think about something more grounded, something that you might not expect to find on land at all. What if I told you there are fish that walk on land? I know it sounds a little wild, but it's true. There are fish that have adapted in ways that allow them to move across the land, surviving in places where most fish would simply perish. Take the mudskipper, for example. This fish can be found in parts of Asia and Africa, and it uses its powerful pectoral fins to walk across mudflats, searching for food and avoiding predators. Mudskippers can even breathe through their skin and the lining of their mouth and throat, as long as they keep moist. Their ability to move on land is one of the most fascinating examples of how life can adapt to unexpected environments. And it's not just mudskippers. There are other fish like the climbing perch that can survive out of water for days at a time. These remarkable creatures have evolved the ability to move between ponds, crossing stretches of land in search of food and shelter. Watching a fish pull itself along the ground, moving with such ease, feels almost like seeing evolution in action, a glimpse into the past when life was first testing the edges of land. This ability to transition between land and water is a testament to the resilience of life. It shows how, over millions of years, creatures have found ways to adapt, to push the boundaries of what we thought possible. The idea of a fish walking on land may seem surreal, but it's a real and living example of how life, in all its forms, is constantly evolving, finding new ways to survive and thrive in the most unexpected of places. We've wandered through the wetlands with mudskippers and climbed with fish, and now it's time to take a step back and look at something truly grand. Imagine for a moment the vastness of the Amazon rainforest, where trees stretch high into the sky, their thick leaves forming an impenetrable canopy. The air is heavy with moisture, and the ground beneath you feels alive, almost breathing. The Amazon is the largest rainforest in the world, a green world of boundless growth and biodiversity. But here's the thing, the forest doesn't just survive, it actually creates its own weather. Yes, the Amazon is so immense, so lush, that it plays a role in shaping its own climate. Every day, The trees release billions of liters of water vapor into the atmosphere through a process known as transpiration. The trees take up water through their roots, and then, through their leaves, they release it back into the air. This vapor rises into the sky, where it cools, condenses, and forms clouds, which eventually bring rain back down to the forest. It's a constant, cyclical process that sustains the forest and keeps it alive, even in the dry months. But the influence of the Amazon goes beyond its borders. The water vapor it releases doesn't just stay in the region. It travels, carried by winds across vast distances, influencing weather patterns thousands of kilometers away. The sheer scale of this process is mind-blowing. The Amazon doesn't just exist within the natural world. It actively shapes it. And in return, the forest benefits from the rain it creates. It's a beautiful, self-sustaining system where the trees and the atmosphere work together in harmony. The idea that an entire forest can influence the weather, creating clouds and rain that nourish it, is like watching the earth itself breathe. When you stand in the heart of the Amazon, it's not just the dense, vibrant life that surrounds you. It's the feeling that the forest is in constant motion, shaping the world around it, even as you take a breath. But while the Amazon is an awe-inspiring example, it's not the only place where nature shapes its own environment. Let's now turn our attention to something even deeper and more mysterious: the oceans. Beneath the waves, there are rivers that flow, but not in the way you might imagine. These underwater rivers aren't made of fresh water, but rather of dense, salty, or sediment-rich currents that move along the ocean floor. They form when water with different salinities meets and the denser water sinks, flowing along the seabed in powerful currents. One of the most fascinating examples of these underwater rivers is found in the Black Sea, where a current snakes along the ocean floor for over 100 kilometers. These rivers, often invisible to the naked eye, shape the seabed much like rivers do on land. The underwater currents carve out channels, carry nutrients, and influence the movement of marine life. Divers who have explored these currents describe an eerie sensation as they swim through a river that runs beneath the sea, feeling the weight of the water pressing down on them as they move through the distinct layers. It's like traveling through a hidden world, where nature's forces are working quietly, out of sight, but still shaping the landscape in ways we can't see. It's amazing to think that there are entire rivers under the ocean, silently carving out paths beneath the surface. These hidden currents are so powerful, so significant, yet they exist in a world most of us will never touch. It's a reminder that the Earth is a living, breathing organism, constantly shifting, changing, and moving, even in places we can't see. And just like the Amazon rainforest influences the sky above, these underwater rivers shape the world beneath. And while we're diving into the depths, let's talk about something even more surprising: the deserts. Deserts, as we all know, are harsh, dry places where life is tough to come by. But what if I told you that some deserts can actually bloom with flowers overnight? Yes, some of the world's most arid landscapes have the ability to come alive with color when the conditions are just right. It's almost like the desert is holding its breath, waiting for the moment when the rain will come and transform it into a sea of flowers. In places like the Atacama Desert in Chile, one of the driest places on Earth, this phenomenon is known to occur after a rare, soaking rain. For days, the landscape may seem completely barren, with nothing but sand and rocks stretching as far as the eye can see. But then, after a sudden rainstorm, the desert transforms. Seeds that have been lying dormant for years suddenly sprout, and within hours, the ground is covered with bright, vibrant flowers in hues of purple, yellow, and red. It's like a miracle, as if the desert is revealing its hidden beauty after waiting for the perfect moment. The timing of these blooms is critical. The flowers don't last long. Often, the intense heat returns soon after the rain, drying up the flowers and leaving only their seeds behind, ready to wait for the next rain. But in those brief moments, The desert is a place of unexpected beauty, a reminder that life can find a way to thrive even in the most unforgiving environments. The fact that a desert can transform so dramatically is a testament to nature's ability to surprise us, to show us that even in the most extreme conditions, life will find a way to endure. As we look out at the desert landscape, it's hard not to marvel at how something so dry and lifeless can come to life in the blink of an eye. It's as if the desert is waiting for its chance to bloom, and when that moment comes, it bursts forth in an explosion of color, reminding us that nature is full of surprises, even in the most unexpected places. And just as the desert holds its breath, waiting for the rain, so too do the forests and the oceans, each one a living, breathing entity, shaping the world around them in ways we can only begin to understand. Now, with all this talk of deserts and underwater rivers, let's pause and think about something truly incredible. Imagine a creature that has the ability to survive without oxygen. Yes, you heard that right, without oxygen. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But certain animals have evolved to live in environments where oxygen is scarce or even non-existent. These creatures have found ways to survive in places where most life would simply perish. Take the painted turtle, for example. During the winter months, when the lakes where these turtles live freeze over, the turtles enter a state of suspended animation, slowing their metabolism to the point where they don't need oxygen to survive. They can hibernate underwater for months, living off their body's stored fat. It's a stunning example of how life adapts to even the most extreme conditions. But the painted turtle isn't alone in this ability. Certain species of worms and crustaceans in oxygen-poor sediments have also developed ways to extract energy without using oxygen, using alternative processes to stay alive. And then there's the tardigrade, a tiny, microscopic creature that can survive just about anything. Tardigrades are known for their ability to survive extreme temperatures, radiation, and even the vacuum of space. They can go without food or water for years. And when conditions are harsh, they enter a state called cryptobiosis, where their metabolism nearly stops entirely. In this state, they can survive without oxygen, without food, and without water, waiting for conditions to improve before coming back to life. It's a form of survival that seems almost beyond belief, yet these creatures do it time and time again, proving that life's limits are far wider than we ever imagined. As we drift deeper into the wonders of the natural world, let's now turn our attention to something even more mysterious and captivating: lightning. We've seen its dramatic flashes light up the sky, but have you ever stopped to wonder just what's going on behind those bursts of light? Lightning, with all its power, is more than just a flash in the dark. It plays a crucial role in the chemistry of our planet. Every day, around the world, lightning strikes the Earth about 8 million times. Yes, 8 million times. That's more than 90 strikes every second. It's one of the most constant and forceful phenomena we experience on this planet, and yet it's so fleeting, so momentary, that we rarely think about what it does. Now, here's the interesting part. Lightning is far more than just a show. When lightning strikes, it releases intense heat, temperatures soaring to over 30,000 degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun. The sudden surge of heat causes the air around the lightning bolt to expand rapidly, creating a shock wave that we hear as thunder. But that's just the beginning. The chemical reactions triggered by lightning are essential for life. As the lightning bolt travels through the air, it forms nitrogen oxides, which are vital for plants. These compounds help plants grow by enabling them to absorb nitrogen from the atmosphere. In other words, lightning plays a direct role in the growth of plants, helping the natural cycle continue in ways we don't often see. It's fascinating when you think about it. A bolt of lightning, which lasts only a fraction of a second, has the power to transform the air, create life-sustaining compounds, and keep ecosystems healthy. We often think of lightning as a destructive force, something to fear when it strikes close by, but it's also a force of creation, helping the very plants that feed us grow. In fact, lightning is so powerful that it actually helps shape the atmosphere. In tropical areas, the constant lightning strikes contribute to the cycle of rain, helping to regulate the climate in ways that we might never fully understand. And then there's the sound, the thunder. It's the byproduct of lightning's power, the air compressing and rapidly expanding in a momentary explosion. Thunder can be heard from miles away, rolling across the sky in a deep rumble that seems to echo through your bones. But unlike lightning, which can be seen in an instant, thunder always takes longer to reach us. The speed of light is far faster than the speed of sound, which is why we see the flash of lightning first, and then, several seconds later, we hear the thunder. It's like nature's way of reminding us that some things can be instantaneous, while others take time to arrive. And yet, there's more to lightning than just its electrical power. It's also a reminder of the incredible forces that are constantly at work in our atmosphere. As the earth spins and the winds blow, the energy in the air builds up, waiting for a release. That release, when it comes, is lightning, a sudden surge of power that connects the earth to the sky in an electric embrace. It's the perfect example of how nature works in cycles, how energy builds, and how it finds a way to release itself when the time is right. The next time you see a storm rolling in, with the sky darkening and the wind picking up, take a moment to think about what's happening above you. Lightning is not just a flash of light in the sky. It's part of a greater system that powers our world in ways we can't always see. But while lightning is one of nature's most dramatic phenomena, let's now explore something even more mysterious and hidden: the oceans. Beneath the surface, a different kind of life exists, one that is so far removed from the world we know that it almost feels like an alien landscape. Some creatures, like certain species of fish, have adapted in extraordinary ways to survive in the depths of the sea, where sunlight doesn't penetrate and the pressure can be crushing. And yet, in this darkness, life thrives. One of the most fascinating adaptations is the ability of certain fish to produce light. These bioluminescent creatures are living light shows, their bodies glowing in the inky blackness of the deep ocean. The glow they produce is a result of a chemical reaction in their bodies, one that allows them to communicate, attract mates, or lure prey. It's a remarkable skill, allowing these creatures to navigate, hunt, and protect themselves in an environment where visibility is virtually non-existent. Imagine being surrounded by creatures that can light up the darkness like little stars, creating a surreal, otherworldly landscape beneath the waves. Some fish, like the flashlight fish, have light-producing organs beneath their eyes, which they can flash on and off at will. It's like a living light show, flashing in the dark waters, creating patterns that we can barely even imagine. The ocean, it seems, is not as dark and empty as we once thought. It's filled with light, if only we know where to look. And it's not just fish that glow in the deep sea. Certain jellyfish and squid also possess bioluminescent abilities, using their glow to communicate with each other or ward off predators. For some species, the glow is a defense mechanism, a way to confuse and deter threats. The light they emit can be so bright and so sudden that it disorients their would-be attackers, giving them a chance to escape. It's a beautiful, if eerie, way that life has adapted to the extreme conditions of the deep ocean. The creatures that live in this world have learned to use light to survive, turning the darkness into a canvas for their own survival. In fact, the deep sea is one of the most mysterious and unexplored places on Earth. Despite centuries of exploration, we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the deep ocean. The creatures that live there are often unlike anything we've ever seen, evolving to survive in conditions that seem impossible. Some of them are completely transparent, allowing them to blend into the darkness, while others have developed incredible, glowing abilities to navigate, communicate, and hunt. Life, it seems, can survive anywhere, even in the most extreme and unexpected places. And every time we explore deeper into the ocean, we uncover new creatures, new forms of life that challenge our understanding of what's possible. As we look at these glowing fish and bioluminescent creatures, we're reminded of just how much is still left to discover in the natural world. The more we learn, the more we realize that nature's wonders are not always as they seem. What appears to be a dark, empty world is actually filled with life, with creatures that glow and shimmer in the deep, dark sea. It's a reminder that life has a way of adapting to even the harshest of environments, and that sometimes the most beautiful things are the ones we can't see at first, like a flicker of light in the dark ocean guiding the way. As we float through this quiet, glowing underwater world, it's almost as if nature has crafted a secret, luminous realm beneath the waves, hidden from our view, but vital to the balance of life on Earth. It's easy to marvel at these bioluminescent creatures, those creatures of light in the darkest places. But now, let's shift our gaze back to land, where things aren't always so serene. There's another side to nature, a side where life seems to defy all logic, where plants and animals have learned to endure the harshest conditions imaginable. And no place embodies this more than the extreme, seemingly barren deserts. We all have an image of the desert, don't we? A vast, empty stretch of sand, stretching for miles, with little more than the occasional cactus or hardy shrub to break up the endless monotony. But here's where nature really begins to show off. Some deserts, like the Atacama Desert in Chile, one of the driest places on Earth, are known for a phenomenon that seems almost magical. When it rains, the entire landscape can transform in a matter of hours. And when I say transform, I mean it bursts into life. The ground, which may have been dry and cracked just hours earlier, suddenly erupts in a blanket of colorful flowers. Yellows, purples, reds, thousands of flowers bloom all at once, covering the desert floor as far as the eye can see. This rare event is called a super bloom, and it's one of the most spectacular things you can witness in nature. But here's the twist. These flowers don't bloom on a regular basis. They only open when the conditions are just right. For years, they lie dormant, waiting for a downpour of rain to trigger the blooming process. And then, when that rare rain does come, the desert, seemingly lifeless, bursts into color. But the bloom doesn't last long. After a few days or weeks, the heat returns, and the flowers quickly wither and die, leaving only their seeds behind, ready to wait for the next perfect storm. It's a beautiful, fleeting reminder that life can thrive in the most unexpected of places, even in places that appear barren or inhospitable. These super blooms are nature's way of proving that even the driest, harshest conditions can support life, if only for a short while. It's as if the desert, for one brief moment, is given a chance to show its true colors, to reveal a hidden world of beauty beneath the surface. And when you witness it, you're left with the quiet sense that there's always something more to discover, even in places that seem completely still. But not all deserts are defined by sand and heat. Some, like the frozen deserts of Antarctica and the Arctic, are covered in ice. The largest deserts on Earth, the cold deserts, are defined not by a lack of warmth, but by an absence of moisture. These icy deserts are home to creatures and plants that have adapted to live in conditions we can hardly imagine. The temperatures in these regions can plunge far below freezing, and yet, life continues. In these cold, dry places, survival is about conserving energy and making the most of every tiny amount of moisture. In Antarctica, for example, life persists in the form of hardy, microscopic organisms that have adapted to live without the abundant water and warmth found in more temperate climates. These organisms, including certain species of bacteria and algae, have learned to survive in the harshest conditions on Earth. In fact, many of them can go without food or water for long periods of time, entering a state of dormancy until conditions improve. Some of the hardiest creatures on the planet, like the Antarctic ice fish, have developed antifreeze proteins in their blood, allowing them to survive in sub-zero temperatures. It's a testament to the resilience of life, proving that even in the coldest, driest places, life can find a way to survive. But let's move back to warmer climates, where life is equally resilient, though in a completely different way. Have you ever wondered about the plants that live in places where water is almost non-existent? Imagine the baobab tree, a true survivor of the African savanna. These trees have learned to store vast amounts of water in their trunks, which can grow to be massive, up to 30 feet in diameter. When the rains finally do come, the baobabs drink in as much water as they can, storing it in their thick, swollen trunks for the long, dry months ahead. This water storage allows them to survive in places where rainfall can be scarce and unreliable. It's a remarkable adaptation, a way to ensure that the tree has enough resources to get through the harshest of times. But the baobab isn't the only plant that has learned to survive in dry, water-scarce environments. Many desert plants, like succulents, have developed the ability to store water in their leaves and stems, allowing them to survive for months or even years without a drop of rain. These plants have thick, waxy coatings on their leaves that prevent water from evaporating. And some, like the saguaro cactus in the Sonoran Desert, have a series of deep roots that reach down to find underground water sources. These plants have evolved to make the most of every resource, drawing on their stored water to carry them through the long stretches of dry weather. But it's not just plants that have found ways to thrive in these dry, unforgiving environments. Certain animals have developed equally incredible survival strategies. One such animal is the fennec fox, a small desert-dwelling creature native to the Sahara Desert. The fennec fox is a master of surviving in extreme heat. It has large ears that help dissipate heat, and its thick fur provides insulation against both the scorching sun during the day and the freezing temperatures at night. The fox can go without water for long periods, getting its moisture from the plants and animals it hunts. It's a testament to the adaptability of life, showing that even the harshest environments can be home to creatures that have found ways to not just survive, but thrive. And just as we've seen with the plants, these animals have found ways to store and conserve water, to make the most of every precious drop. Whether it's the fennec fox's efficient hunting habits or the baobab's ability to store rainwater, these survival strategies are a reminder that life is constantly evolving, constantly finding new ways to cope with the changing world. Now, let's take a deep breath and think about something a little quieter, a little more subtle, somewhere far beneath the ground. In a world we can't see, there are creatures that never stop growing. Imagine a fish, a giant catfish, or a turtle, growing for decades, steadily increasing in size as the years pass by. These creatures don't stop at a set size. They continue to grow throughout their lives, a process known as indeterminate growth. Some fish, like the giant catfish found in Southeast Asia, can grow to lengths exceeding 2 meters, while crocodiles and turtles continue to grow throughout their lives, often becoming massive, apex predators in their ecosystems. This continual growth means that the largest individuals in these species are often the oldest, carrying with them decades of experience and knowledge about the world around them. These creatures have mastered the art of survival, growing slowly but steadily, accumulating strength and wisdom as they age. The process of indeterminate growth is one of nature's most fascinating strategies, allowing these creatures to survive for longer and become stronger as they age. As we continue our journey, we now step into an even more awe-inspiring world, one that is both deeply mysterious and vast beyond measure. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff, overlooking the deep blue expanse of the ocean, the horizon stretching endlessly before you. Below the surface, where the light barely penetrates, lies a world so alien, so different from what we know, that it feels like we're on another planet entirely. It's a world of extremes, one where life thrives despite the crushing pressure, the cold temperatures, and the utter darkness. The ocean, with all its hidden depths, is home to some of the most remarkable and resilient life forms imaginable. But what if I told you that there are rivers that flow under the sea? Underwater rivers. It sounds like something from a dream, doesn't it? But they exist, and they are as strange and beautiful as the creatures that inhabit the ocean's depths. These rivers aren't made of fresh water, but of dense, salty currents that snake across the seafloor. The conditions are right for these currents to form when water of different salinities meets. Heavy, salty water sinks and moves along the seabed, creating currents that flow like rivers, but in complete darkness. One of the most famous examples is found in the Black Sea, where a powerful current flows for over 100 kilometers beneath the surface. These underwater rivers are often invisible, but divers who have explored them describe an eerie sensation as they drift through the dark, feeling the weight of the water pressing down from above. It's hard to imagine that such rivers exist, hidden beneath the waves, flowing silently through the ocean, shaping the seafloor in ways that are almost impossible to see from the surface. Yet, just like rivers on land, these underwater currents carve channels, transport nutrients, and sustain life along their path. The underwater rivers, with their slow, steady flow, are one of the many mysteries of the deep sea, a reminder that even the most familiar elements of life, like water, can behave in ways we can't predict or fully understand. As we leave the hidden currents of the ocean behind, let's now turn to another mystery of the natural world, something that seems so unlikely, so impossible, that it almost feels like magic. Imagine standing in the heart of a desert, the dry heat pressing down around you, when suddenly, everything changes. The ground, which has been dry for months or even years, suddenly bursts into life. Flowers appear, spreading across the barren landscape in a vibrant explosion of color. It's as if the desert has come to life right before your eyes, showing you a side of itself you never knew existed. In places like the Atacama Desert in Chile, this phenomenon occurs only after a rare, soaking rain. Seeds that have been lying dormant in the dry earth for years are triggered to germinate, and within hours, the desert floor is covered in a blanket of flowers. But here's the thing about desert blooms. They don't last long. The flowers appear for just a few days, maybe a week at most, before the heat returns, and the blooms wither and die. In that brief moment of beauty, the desert seems to come alive, showing its hidden magic to anyone who happens to be there to witness it. It's a fleeting beauty, one that can only happen when the conditions are just right. And yet, it's enough to remind us that even in the most extreme, inhospitable environments, life can find a way to bloom. The desert, in all its harshness and apparent lifelessness, holds within it a secret world of resilience. For the plants and animals that call it home, survival is all about adaptation. Take the baobab tree, for example. This iconic tree, with its massive trunk and thick branches, can store thousands of liters of water in its trunk, allowing it to survive the long, dry seasons when rainfall is scarce. In the harshest months, the baobab draws on its stored water, sustaining itself and providing life to the surrounding ecosystem. The tree becomes a living reservoir, a life-saving resource for the creatures that rely on it. And it's not just the baobab that survives in the desert. Many plants and animals have developed remarkable adaptations to cope with the extreme heat and dryness. Some desert plants, like cacti, store water in their fleshy stems, while others, like succulents, have thick, waxy coatings on their leaves to reduce water loss. Desert animals, like the fennec fox, have large ears that help dissipate heat, and they have evolved the ability to survive without drinking water, getting their moisture from the food they eat. These animals and plants have learned to conserve and store resources, adapting to a life where every drop of water is precious. It's these adaptations that make the desert such a fascinating place to study. It's a world where life in all its forms has found a way to survive, to thrive, in the harshest conditions imaginable. And just when you think the desert has nothing more to offer, it surprises you with a burst of color, a moment of beauty that reminds you that life can flourish, even in the most unlikely of places. But let's shift our focus now and look at another remarkable feat of survival. We've talked about the resilience of life in the desert, but what about life in the freezing cold? There's an entirely different world of survival in the coldest, most inhospitable places on Earth, and it's a world that few people will ever experience firsthand. In the frozen wilderness of Antarctica, life persists in ways that seem almost impossible. The harsh conditions, with temperatures plunging well below freezing, might seem like the end for most creatures, but not for the ones that have adapted to life on the ice. Take the Antarctic ice fish, for example. These fish have a remarkable ability to survive in sub-zero temperatures, thanks to the antifreeze proteins in their blood. These proteins prevent their blood from freezing, allowing them to continue swimming and hunting in the frigid waters of the Southern Ocean. And while the ice fish is one of the most well-known survivors of the cold, it's not alone. Many other species of fish, insects, and even microscopic life forms have developed unique strategies for surviving in the extreme cold of the polar regions. In fact, some of these creatures can survive conditions that would be deadly to most life forms. Certain microscopic organisms, like tardigrades, can survive being frozen solid for years, entering a state of suspended animation until the conditions are right for them to thaw out and resume life. It's an incredible adaptation, one that challenges our understanding of what life can endure. Life in the extreme cold is about conserving energy, slowing down metabolism, and finding ways to survive when every living moment is a struggle against the elements. But despite the harsh conditions, life persists and in some cases thrives. It's a reminder that no matter how inhospitable the environment may seem, life has an incredible ability to adapt. Whether in the heat of the desert or the freezing cold of Antarctica, creatures have found ways to survive, to continue on, even when the odds seem insurmountable. And as we explore these extreme environments, we begin to realize that life, in all its forms, is far more resilient than we ever imagined. As we continue to explore the remarkable ways life adapts to extreme environments, let's shift our focus to something truly strange, almost otherworldly, yet still very much a part of our planet. We've journeyed through deserts and frozen landscapes, but now, let's dive into something that's hidden from our view, deep within the Earth's crust. There are places on Earth, far beneath our feet, where life persists in absolute darkness. No sunlight penetrates, no warmth is felt, yet these hidden caves and trenches are home to creatures that have never seen the light of day. In these underground worlds, life continues in a way that feels like a strange echo of our own existence, but with a twist. Imagine, for a moment, descending into one of the deepest caves in the world, a place so remote and so dark that no human has ever stepped foot there. It's silent, except for the drip of water echoing off the stalactites. And within this cave, there are creatures, blind fish for example, that have adapted to a life without light. They've evolved in complete darkness. Their eyes have long since atrophied, useless in a world where seeing is unnecessary. Instead, they've developed an extraordinary sense of touch and vibration, using their bodies to navigate the dark, as if the world itself were speaking to them through tiny shifts in the water. But it's not just fish that thrive in the dark. In fact, some creatures have even evolved to live in environments so extreme, so full of pressure, that they survive in places far deeper than we ever thought possible. Take the deep-sea fish known as the snailfish. These creatures dwell at depths where the pressure is hundreds of times greater than at the surface. Their bodies are designed to withstand the crushing force, and they've developed adaptations that allow them to not only survive but thrive in this alien environment. They rely on special proteins that protect their cells from being crushed, allowing them to remain active, hunting for food in the deep, cold waters. In these depths, life finds a way, just as it does in the most extreme heat or in the dry sands of the desert. But there's one thing that seems to be a common thread throughout all of these environments: the ability to adapt, to change, to survive despite the odds. Whether it's fish that no longer need eyes, creatures that thrive on sheer pressure, or microscopic life forms that can survive in space, nature has an incredible ability to find a way to keep going, to keep living. But life doesn't always need extreme conditions to survive. Sometimes life is quiet, slow, and surprisingly gentle. Think of the vast forests that stretch across the earth, quiet, peaceful places where everything moves in harmony with the seasons. Some of these forests are ancient, like the rainforests of the Amazon, where trees that have been alive for centuries continue to grow. And just like the rest of nature, these forests are alive with stories, with life. They may not always seem dramatic, but when you stop and listen, you'll hear a subtle hum, a quiet, unseen pulse that keeps the ecosystem moving. The Amazon, for instance, is a place that breathes. Yes, it breathes. The trees release billions of liters of water vapor into the air each day, creating clouds that come right back down as rain, fueling the cycle of life. The forest doesn't just survive, it actively creates its own weather, sustaining itself with the very water it releases. It's like a living, breathing entity shaping its own environment. The trees, plants, and animals all work together in an intricate dance, each one playing a role in keeping the ecosystem alive. And this doesn't just happen in the Amazon. All over the world, forests are creating their own rain, shaping the climates around them, and helping life flourish. But let's not just look at the grandeur of forests. Let's think about something more unexpected. How often have you looked at a flower and thought, "That's beautiful, but I wonder what's going on inside it"? Well, what if I told you that flowers can actually count the hours of daylight? Yes, some plants have an internal clock, much like we do. It's called photoperiodism, and it helps plants know when to bloom, when to shed their leaves, and even when to release their seeds. Some flowers won't bloom unless the nights are long enough, signaling that it's time for pollinators to come out and do their work. But not all flowers are so predictable. Some flowers change color as they age, a subtle yet fascinating way to communicate with the world around them. For example, the lantana plant opens with yellow flowers, then gradually shifts to orange, red, and purple as it matures. Pollinators like bees and butterflies learned that the freshest, most rewarding flowers are the ones that are still yellow, ensuring that the plant's most fertile blooms get the attention they need. It's a way of telling pollinators, this is the right time. This is the best moment. It's a quiet communication, a dance between plant and pollinator, one that we often overlook. It's this quiet adaptability, this subtle communication, that makes the natural world so endlessly fascinating. Whether it's the trees that shape the atmosphere around them or the flowers that tell pollinators when to visit, nature is always finding new ways to surprise us. It's not always the loudest, most dramatic moments that define the natural world. It's the soft, hidden rhythms that run beneath the surface, the tiny details that, when you stop and notice them, reveal just how deeply interconnected everything is. Every living thing, from the tiniest flower to the tallest tree, is part of a system that has been evolving for millions of years, each piece playing a role in the delicate balance that sustains life on Earth. And as we look at these plants and animals, whether they're learning to adapt to the harshest climates or using the subtle rhythms of the Earth to guide their lives, let's take a moment to reflect on how much we still have to learn. There's so much about the natural world that remains hidden from us, mysteries that we've yet to uncover. But just like those flowers that bloom unexpectedly after the rain, just like the creatures that thrive in the darkest depths, there's always more to discover. And the beauty of nature is that it's always there, quietly waiting, patiently unfolding its secrets, ready to surprise us when we're ready to see. Now that we've explored the magical and often mysterious world of forests, flowers, and the deep, dark oceans, it's time to shift our focus to something both mind-bending and utterly fascinating: places where the boundaries of life itself seem to stretch and bend. Let's dive deeper into one of the most peculiar and wonderful natural occurrences, the phenomenon of life that not only survives against the odds, but does so by transforming. And by that, I mean animals that can regrow entire limbs. Yes, I'm talking about creatures that can shed parts of themselves and then grow them back, perfectly intact. It's like a sci-fi fantasy, but it's not fiction. It's real, and it happens in nature. Take the salamander, for instance. If a salamander loses a leg, it doesn't just have to live with a limp. No, it grows a brand new one. This incredible regeneration is not just limited to limbs. It's so precise that some salamanders can even regrow parts of their heart, eyes, or spinal cord. When we think of regeneration in nature, it often brings to mind science fiction, but for these creatures, it's a basic survival mechanism. If a predator attacks, a salamander can escape by losing its limb, only to regrow it in a matter of weeks or months. And it doesn't stop there. The regeneration process is so exact that the new limb is a perfect replica of the old one. The bones, muscles, nerves, all regenerate exactly as they were before. It's like nature's reset button. But the ability to regenerate doesn't stop with salamanders. In fact, there are even more creatures that share this remarkable ability. Starfish, for example, can regrow lost arms, and in some cases, even regenerate an entirely new starfish from a single limb. The process is the same as in salamanders. Specialized cells in the creature's body are able to transform into the necessary tissues needed to rebuild what's lost. It's a strategy that allows them to escape predators or recover from injury in a way that most animals can only dream of. In the case of starfish, losing an arm is not the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter in the life of the starfish. So, what makes regeneration so remarkable? The key lies in those specialized cells. They're called stem cells, and they have the ability to transform into almost any type of cell the body needs. When a creature loses a part of its body, these stem cells go to work, repairing and regrowing the tissue. It's an extraordinary process, one that scientists are still trying to understand fully. But here's the truly fascinating part. Humans have some of the same genetic pathways that allow for regeneration, but they're far less active. This means that while we don't have the ability to regenerate limbs like a salamander, the potential is there. It's like nature's hidden code, one that we share with these remarkable creatures, but for now, only in a dormant form. Scientists are working tirelessly to unlock the secrets of regeneration, hoping that one day, this knowledge could help us heal injuries and even grow back damaged tissue. Imagine a world where people could regrow lost limbs, or where organs could be replaced without the need for transplants. While we're far from that reality, the idea that such a feat is possible, hidden in our very genes, is a thrilling thought. Perhaps one day, with enough research and understanding, we might be able to activate these dormant pathways and give ourselves the same regenerative abilities that other creatures have mastered. But regeneration is not the only incredible survival strategy that nature has crafted. There's another fascinating phenomenon in nature that pushes the boundaries of what we understand. Life in the most extreme, nearly inhospitable environments. And I'm talking about glaciers. Glaciers are massive rivers of ice, flowing slowly but surely across the land. It's hard to imagine, but glaciers move just like rivers of water, except, of course, they're made of ice. They're incredibly slow-moving, but they reshape the landscape as they go, carving valleys and leaving behind lakes and ridges. But how do glaciers actually move? The movement of glaciers happens due to gravity, pulling the ice down the slope of a mountain or valley. Over time, the immense pressure of the ice on the lower layers causes it to flow like a very slow river. It's not a fast process. Glaciers can move only a few centimeters per day, but in the grand scheme of time, it's enough to reshape the Earth's surface. The way glaciers carve out valleys and fjords is a striking reminder of the slow, but powerful forces of nature. And while glaciers are often seen as solid, unchanging masses of ice. The truth is that they're constantly in motion. They're alive in their own way, moving and reshaping the world beneath them, carving out landscapes that will last for millennia. And just as glaciers move and shape the land, there are places where nature's forces seem to defy the rules entirely. Take, for example, the phenomenon of waterfalls that flow upward. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But certain conditions, specifically powerful winds, can create the illusion of waterfalls reversing their flow. In coastal cliffs, where strong winds funnel upward against the rock face, the force of the wind can catch the falling water of a tall waterfall, pushing it back upward in a dramatic gravity-defying show. The effect is fleeting, lasting only as long as the winds continue to blow, but when it happens, it feels like the laws of nature are being bent just for a moment. It's a rare phenomenon, but it's one that reminds us of the incredible forces that are constantly at play in our world. This idea of nature defying the usual rules, of breaking free from the expected, is something we see time and time again. From waterfalls that flow upward to the creatures that regenerate limbs, nature has a way of surprising us, of showing us that the limits of what we thought was possible are constantly being tested. Whether it's the creation of vast glaciers, the regeneration of limbs, or the bending of waterfalls, nature constantly redefines what's possible, reminding us that there's always more to learn, more to discover, and more to marvel at. But while we've explored some of the more extreme and dramatic feats of nature, there's another, quieter phenomenon that often goes unnoticed. I'm talking about the ways that plants communicate. It's easy to think of plants as passive organisms, simply growing where they're planted, but the truth is they're far more active than we realize. Plants communicate in a variety of ways, not through sound or movement like animals, but through chemical signals, subtle messages carried on the wind, or through the network of roots beneath the soil. One of the most fascinating examples of this is the way that trees, like acacias in Africa, will release chemical signals into the air when they're under attack by herbivores. These signals travel to nearby trees, warning them of the threat, and causing them to produce toxic chemicals that make their leaves less appealing to the herbivores. It's a kind of forest-wide alarm system, one that helps trees protect themselves from predators. This hidden world of communication in the plant kingdom is not just about survival. It's a reminder that nature is full of connections, many of which we never see. Plants, in their quiet, patient way, are actively engaged with the world around them, communicating and adapting to the challenges they face. And just as plants communicate with each other, so too does the natural world around us, in ways that we're only just beginning to understand. The next time you take a walk through the forest or pass by a garden, remember that there's far more going on beneath the surface than meets the eye. As we continue our journey through the wonders of the natural world, let's pause for a moment and think about something that we often take for granted: our planet's ability to breathe. When we talk about the Earth breathing, we're not referring to humans or animals, but to the very systems that keep life on this planet thriving. The forests, the oceans, and even the soil are all part of the Earth's intricate system of exchange. Carbon dioxide, oxygen, water, and energy are constantly moving between the atmosphere, the land, and the oceans in a delicate dance that sustains life. One of the most fascinating examples of this is the Amazon rainforest, a place where the forest not only survives, but actually creates its own weather, its own climate. The Amazon is so vast and so rich in life that it acts like a living organism, constantly producing and recycling moisture. Each day, the trees release billions of liters of water vapor into the atmosphere through a process called transpiration. As the moisture rises, it cools and condenses into clouds, which eventually fall back to the forest as rain. This cycle is crucial for the health of the forest itself, as it nourishes the trees and plants that make up the ecosystem. But it doesn't stop there. The water vapor released by the Amazon doesn't just stay within the forest. It travels, carried by winds, and can influence rainfall patterns in distant regions. In fact, the Amazon is responsible for a significant portion of the rainfall in countries like Brazil, Argentina, and even parts of the United States. But the Amazon is not the only place where nature creates its own weather. There are other forests, other ecosystems that have similarly profound impacts on the climate. In tropical regions, for example, forests play a crucial role in regulating rainfall patterns, shaping the very climate of the regions they inhabit. It's not just a matter of absorbing and releasing moisture. The forests themselves are actively involved in creating the conditions that allow them to survive. They work like lungs, taking in carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. And in doing so, they help maintain the balance of gases in the atmosphere, providing the foundation for life on Earth. What's truly remarkable about this process is how interconnected everything is. The Amazon, with its ability to produce rain and influence weather patterns, is just one part of a much larger system of natural exchanges. The forests, oceans, and even the soil beneath our feet are all part of a vast, interconnected web of life that sustains the planet. These systems are constantly working in tandem to regulate temperature, control water cycles, and maintain the balance of gases in the atmosphere. Every tree, every plant, every drop of water plays a role in keeping the planet alive, keeping it breathing. But let's take a moment to think about the invisible forces that drive all of this. We often talk about the Earth's magnetic field as though it's something abstract, something we don't really need to worry about. But the truth is this magnetic field is one of the most important, most powerful forces on the planet. It's the force that guides animals during migration, helps them navigate the world around them, and allows them to find their way over vast distances. Think about the migratory birds that travel thousands of miles each year. Some species, like the indigo bunting, use the stars as their compass, navigating the night sky with incredible precision. Other birds rely on the Earth's magnetic field to guide them, sensing the subtle changes in the magnetic lines that wrap around the planet. It's a sixth sense, a kind of invisible map that helps animals find their way across vast, featureless expanses. Even sea turtles, those ancient navigators, use the Earth's magnetic field to return to the exact beach where they were born years after they've left. It's like an invisible thread, a guide that has been with these creatures for millions of years, helping them navigate a world that would otherwise be completely disorienting. And it's not just animals that rely on the Earth's magnetic field. Certain plants, too, seem to have a connection to this force. Some plants, like the wild vine, can sense the magnetic field and use it to orient themselves in the direction of growth. While scientists are still studying exactly how plants sense and use the Earth's magnetic field, it's clear that this force plays a role in the way life grows and develops. From the tiny seedling that sprouts in the soil to the birds flying high above, the Earth's magnetic field is a silent, unseen force that helps guide and shape life in ways we don't always understand. Now, let's take a deep breath and think about another incredible, yet often overlooked, feature of nature: its ability to create. There's a place on Earth where life is constantly building, shaping, and creating. It's not just a process of survival. It's a testament to the creative power of nature. I'm talking about coral reefs. These vibrant, colorful underwater cities are home to thousands of species of marine life, from the tiniest shrimp to the largest fish. And yet, the reefs themselves are built by creatures that are no bigger than a grain of rice, the coral polyps. Each coral polyp is a tiny animal, but over time, these tiny creatures secrete a hard skeleton of calcium carbonate, which builds up and forms the coral reef. It's a slow process taking hundreds or even thousands of years to create the massive reefs we see today. But it's a process that's constantly happening. The polyps live on top of the old skeletons, adding new layers to the reef as they grow. In this way, coral reefs are a living, breathing structure, constantly being built and reshaped by the polyps that inhabit them. What's truly remarkable about coral reefs is how they support life. They provide food, shelter, and a breeding ground for countless species of marine life. In fact, coral reefs are often referred to as the rainforests of the sea because they host so much biodiversity. And just as the Amazon rainforest influences the climate, coral reefs play a critical role in the health of the oceans. They protect coastlines from erosion, help regulate water temperatures, and even contribute to the formation of new islands. It's an incredible example of nature's ability to create and sustain life, all through the work of the smallest creatures. But coral reefs are not invincible. Like so many other ecosystems, they face threats from human activity, climate change, and pollution. The very forces that make coral reefs so vibrant and alive are also the forces that make them vulnerable. Rising ocean temperatures, ocean acidification, and pollution have caused widespread coral bleaching, which weakens the reefs and makes them more susceptible to disease. Despite these challenges, there's hope. Efforts to protect coral reefs, from creating marine protected areas to restoring damaged reefs, are helping to preserve these incredible ecosystems for future generations. As we think about the creation of coral reefs, let's step back and appreciate the creativity of nature. From the vast forests that regulate our climate to the coral reefs that build entire ecosystems, nature is constantly shaping, molding, and creating life. And just as we've seen with coral reefs, this creativity doesn't always happen in grand, sweeping gestures. Sometimes it's the small creatures, the ones we can't even see, that are doing the heavy lifting, quietly building the world around us. Nature's creativity is hidden in plain sight, in the tiniest details, in the slow, steady work that sustains life. Now that we've seen the delicate, intricate ways life shapes itself, whether through invisible forces like the Earth's magnetic field or the creative brilliance of coral reefs, let's shift gears a bit. We've been floating through warm oceans, crossing vast deserts, and hiking through dense forests. But now, let's think about the land beneath our feet. Specifically, soil. Yes, soil. It may seem like an unremarkable part of our world, just something we walk on, but when you look closer, it reveals an entire universe of life that often goes unnoticed. Below the surface, soil is alive with activity, with billions of microscopic creatures working tirelessly to keep ecosystems functioning, to recycle nutrients, and to create the very foundation for life to grow. Consider this. Just 1 teaspoon of healthy soil can contain more life than there are people on Earth. Think about that for a second. Billions of microscopic organisms, bacteria, fungi, nematodes, mites, and protozoa, all living in a space so small, it's hard to imagine. And these tiny creatures aren't just sitting around. They're hard at work, breaking down organic matter like fallen leaves, recycling nutrients, and even communicating with plants through chemical signals. The underground world is a bustling, vibrant ecosystem of its own, one that we rarely see but that supports nearly all life on Earth. The organisms in soil play an essential role in the nutrient cycle. Without them, plants wouldn't be able to access the nutrients they need to grow. And without plants, we wouldn't have the oxygen, food, and resources that we rely on every day. The soil community forms the foundation of life above ground, silently supporting us and everything else that grows. In fact, without soil organisms, the planet's ecosystems would collapse. The decomposition of dead plants and animals, the release of nutrients back into the soil, and the symbiotic relationships between roots and fungi are all part of the delicate balance that sustains life. Now, let's dig even deeper into this hidden world. Did you know that many of the organisms in the soil communicate with each other in ways that are still not fully understood? There's a network of fungal threads, known as mycelium, that connects plant roots across vast distances. This underground network, sometimes called the Wood Wide Web, acts as a communication system, allowing plants to send chemical signals to one another. When one tree is attacked by pests, it can send a warning through this network, alerting nearby trees to produce protective chemicals. In some cases, older trees send sugars to younger ones that are shaded from the sun, helping them survive and grow. This cooperative behavior is a reminder that plants are far more interactive and intelligent than we often give them credit for. Their world, just below the surface, is a place of constant exchange, a place where the survival of the community depends on the cooperation of every individual. This brings us to a fascinating aspect of nature, the interconnectedness of all life. The mycelium network in the soil is just one example of how life in different forms, plants, fungi, animals, are all linked together, creating a web of relationships that supports the balance of ecosystems. In the animal kingdom, this interconnectedness is also evident. Many species rely on others to survive, whether it's a predator relying on prey for food, or an animal using another's presence to signal danger or warn of a predator. Even among plants, you'll find examples of this. Plants that share space and resources, growing together to form mutually beneficial relationships. The relationships in nature are complex and intricate, each one playing its part in maintaining the stability of the whole system. One such relationship, found in both the animal and plant kingdoms, involves the fascinating phenomenon of symbiosis, where two different organisms live together in a way that benefits both. Take the example of the myrmecophyte, plants that live in a symbiotic relationship with ants. These plants provide shelter and food for ants, and in return, the ants protect the plants from herbivores and even help with the plant's growth. It's a partnership that has evolved over millions of years, with both species benefiting from the other's presence. This kind of symbiosis is found all over the natural world, from the oceans to the forests, and it highlights the extraordinary ways life has learned to cooperate and thrive together. But the symbiotic relationships in nature aren't always so obvious. Consider the relationship between pollinators and plants. The plants rely on insects, birds, and bats to carry pollen from one flower to another, helping them reproduce. In return, the pollinators get the nectar they need to survive. But here's the twist. Plants don't just rely on one type of pollinator. Some plants have evolved to rely on specific species, and over time, those species have adapted to meet the needs of the plant. It's a delicate, evolutionary dance, one that has taken millions of years to perfect. And it's not just limited to pollination. In the animal kingdom, there are countless examples of symbiotic relationships. Cleaner fish that help larger fish by eating parasites off their skin, birds that ride on the backs of large mammals, benefiting from the food they find in their fur. It's this sense of cooperation that makes the natural world so endlessly fascinating. Everywhere you look, there are examples of life working together, of species forming bonds that allow them to thrive. And it's not just the big, dramatic relationships that matter. It's the quiet, everyday exchanges that are just as crucial. In fact, many of the most important symbiotic relationships in nature happen out of sight, underground or in the hidden corners of the natural world, where they can go unnoticed by the casual observer. But even if we don't see them, they're still there, quietly supporting the planet and all the life that depends on it. In fact, it's the smallest creatures that often have the biggest impact. Just think about the insects in the soil, or the tiny pollinators buzzing from flower to flower. These little beings may seem insignificant, but they're an essential part of the global web of life. Without them, ecosystems would collapse, food chains would fall apart, and the balance of nature would be disrupted. And yet, these creatures go about their business, unnoticed, playing their part in the great dance of life. They're the unsung heroes of the natural world, working silently to keep everything in balance. As we think about these tiny, often invisible creatures, let's pause for a moment and consider their importance. The next time you're walking through a forest, standing on a cliff, or gazing at the stars, remember that beneath your feet, there's a whole world of life working tirelessly to keep the balance of nature intact. The soil, the plants, the insects, the animals, they're all part of a vast, interconnected system that sustains life on Earth. And just like the mycelium network that connects trees and plants, the entire planet is connected in ways we're only beginning to understand. It's a reminder that life is not just about the obvious, the loud, or the visible. It's about everything that works quietly in the background, supporting the beauty and complexity of the natural world. We've explored the hidden underground world, where life thrives in silence, and now it's time to rise above it all, into the skies. When we look up, we often see the sky as a vast, endless expanse, a beautiful blue canvas stretching far beyond our reach. But have you ever considered what happens in the sky, how the air moves, and how creatures live among the clouds? What if I told you that the sky isn't just empty space? It's full of life, some of it so remarkable that it challenges our very understanding of movement and endurance. Take, for example, the common swift, a bird that may just be one of the most incredible travelers on Earth. The swift, once it leaves its nest, can stay airborne for months at a time. Imagine that. Months without landing, soaring across continents, traveling thousands of miles. This bird doesn't just glide through the sky. It lives in the air, eating, sleeping, and even mating on the wing. The swift's ability to stay aloft for so long is a testament to its mastery of the air. But here's the truly fascinating part. The swift doesn't simply fly. It sleeps while flying, shutting down one half of its brain at a time, allowing it to rest while still navigating, still soaring across the globe. This ability to sleep on the wing is a survival tactic, enabling the swift to travel vast distances without needing to stop for rest. It's a perfect example of the amazing adaptations in nature, where creatures have evolved to live in environments that would seem impossible for us. But the swifts aren't alone in their airborne adventures. Other birds, like albatrosses, also spend months in the air, covering distances so vast that it's hard to imagine. The albatross's long, graceful wings allow it to glide effortlessly across the ocean, riding air currents to conserve energy. These birds have mastered the art of flight in a way that we can only dream of, using the wind to stay aloft for weeks, sometimes even months, without landing. For these birds, the sky is not just a place to visit. It's their home, their life, their means of survival. And yet, despite their incredible abilities, these birds are not the only creatures who live among the clouds. There's another, quieter phenomenon happening high above us: clouds themselves and the way they influence the world beneath. Have you ever wondered what makes clouds? Or why they seem to float so effortlessly in the sky? Clouds are more than just water vapor. They're the result of the Earth's natural processes. As the sun heats the Earth's surface, moisture evaporates into the air, where it cools and condenses into tiny droplets, forming clouds. The process is constant and vital, playing a crucial role in regulating our planet's temperature and weather patterns. In fact, clouds are an integral part of the Earth's water cycle. They help redistribute water around the planet, bringing rain to the regions that need it and cooling the Earth when the sun's heat becomes overwhelming. But here's the twist. Clouds aren't just random formations in the sky. They can be a sign of things to come. For example, the presence of certain types of clouds can indicate a change in the weather, signaling rain, storms, or clear skies. It's as if the sky is constantly speaking to us, giving us clues about the world below. And for those who know how to read the clouds, the sky can offer an incredible amount of information about what's to come. But the power of clouds goes beyond just weather. Some forests, like the Amazon rainforest, can create their own clouds. These forests release moisture into the air through transpiration, which then cools and condenses to form clouds. In this way, forests like the Amazon play a vital role in shaping the climate, not just in their immediate area, but in distant regions as well. These clouds don't just provide rain for the forest. They help maintain the delicate balance of the Earth's climate system. Without forests and the clouds they create, the Earth's climate would be drastically different. As we continue to explore the power of the sky, let's take a moment to think about how much of our lives depend on the movements of the air around us. Whether it's the birds that fly for miles without landing, or the clouds that provide rain and cool the planet, the atmosphere plays a huge role in shaping our world. And while we often take it for granted, it's clear that the sky, with all its clouds and winds, is far more than just a backdrop. It's an essential part of the Earth's life support system, constantly at work, shaping the weather, regulating temperatures, and influencing the cycles that keep everything in balance. But let's step back and look at the land again, where the drama of survival unfolds in ways that are as surprising as they are beautiful. One of the most amazing stories of life's resilience comes from the depths of some of the world's most remote deserts, places that seem impossibly harsh, where life seems impossible. And yet, in these barren, dry environments, there are creatures that have adapted to survive, some of them so well, in fact, that they've learned how to survive for years without food. Take the case of the desert tortoise, a creature that can go without food for extended periods, sometimes up to a year or more, by slowing its metabolism and living off its body-stored fat. This extraordinary adaptation allows the tortoise to survive in some of the harshest conditions on Earth, where food and water are scarce. The same strategy is used by other desert dwellers, like certain species of frogs and insects, which can enter a state of dormancy during the driest months, only to awaken when the rains return. These creatures have mastered the art of conserving energy, of surviving when everything else around them has dried up and disappeared. It's not just the animals that have learned to survive in these extreme conditions. Certain plants, like the iconic baobab tree, have developed the ability to store massive amounts of water in their trunks, allowing them to survive long periods of drought. In the case of the baobab, this water storage also provides sustenance for animals and humans alike during the dry season. The tree becomes a life-saving reservoir, a lifeline for those who can find it. It's a remarkable adaptation that highlights the resilience of nature, showing us that life finds a way, no matter how dry, how hot, or how unforgiving the environment might seem. But survival in the desert doesn't always mean conserving resources. Sometimes it means learning to work with the elements in creative, unexpected ways. The fennec fox, for example, has large ears that help dissipate heat, allowing it to stay cool during the hottest days. Its thick fur provides insulation, keeping it warm during the cold nights. And when water is scarce, the fennec fox relies on its diet for moisture, feeding on insects, plants, and small mammals. It's a perfect example of nature's ingenuity, showing how life adapts, how it survives, and how it thrives, even in the harshest of environments. As we move forward, let's continue this journey into the heart of nature's extraordinary survival tactics. Nature's wonders never cease to amaze, and just when we think we've uncovered every trick it has up its sleeve, it surprises us with something even more bizarre, something that seems like pure magic. We've already explored the extremes of survival in the desert, the sky, and the ocean, but now let's head to one of the most unexpected survival strategies of all: life in the extreme cold. While we often think of cold as an enemy, as something that freezes life into dormancy, there are creatures that have learned how to embrace it, thriving, even when temperatures plunge far below freezing. Take the wood frog, for instance. Found in the coldest regions of Alaska and Canada, this little frog has developed a remarkable ability to survive the kind of deep freeze that would kill almost any other creature. When the temperatures drop, the wood frog literally freezes solid. Its heart stops beating, its blood stops flowing, and yet somehow it doesn't die. Special compounds in its body act like antifreeze, protecting its cells from bursting as the ice forms inside its body. It's a state of suspended animation, a near-death experience that allows the frog to survive until the weather warms up. And when spring returns, the frog thaws out, as though nothing ever happened. Its heart starts beating again, and it hops away as lively as ever, ready to continue with its life. This ability to survive freezing temperatures is not unique to frogs. Certain insects, fish, and even microscopic creatures called tardigrades have evolved similar strategies to survive extreme cold. Tardigrades, also known as water bears, can enter a state of cryptobiosis, where their metabolic processes come to a near-complete halt, allowing them to survive without water, without food, and without oxygen. They can endure freezing temperatures, intense heat, and even the vacuum of space. It's as though they've unlocked the secret to surviving in the harshest conditions on Earth and beyond. But let's take a moment to reflect on what this really means. The ability to survive such extremes doesn't just reflect the power of evolution. It's a reminder of the incredible resilience of life. Life, it seems, will always find a way to adapt, to survive, and to thrive, no matter what challenges the world throws its way. From frozen frogs to space-dwelling tardigrades, nature constantly proves that life is more flexible, more tenacious, and more inventive than we could ever imagine. But this isn't just about extreme survival tactics. Nature's ability to transform and adapt is a constant theme, and nowhere is this more apparent than in the vast forests and jungles that cover our planet. We've already seen how the Amazon rainforest breathes life into itself, creating its own weather and regulating its own climate. But what about forests that grow in places you wouldn't expect, like floating islands? Yes, floating islands. These are real, and they're as strange and wondrous as you might imagine. Floating islands, made up of mats of soil, roots, and vegetation, form when large sections of land break free from the shore and begin to drift across lakes and wetlands. Over time, grasses, shrubs, and even trees begin to take root on these floating islands, and entire mini ecosystems form on top of them. Some of these islands are small enough to shift with the wind, while others become large enough to host entire forests. They are floating forests, constantly moving and changing, drifting across bodies of water like ships on the sea. In some parts of the world, local legends speak of islands that appear and disappear with the seasons, drifting silently across the water. These floating forests provide shelter for birds, insects, and fish, creating safe havens for life in the most unlikely of places. But the story doesn't end with floating islands. There are other, equally incredible ways that nature adapts and survives in even the most unexpected of environments. Think about the concept of bioluminescence, for example. In some places on Earth, the oceans light up at night with a soft, eerie glow. These glowing waters are filled with tiny organisms called dinoflagellates, which produce light when disturbed. This phenomenon, known as bioluminescence, can be seen in some of the most remote corners of the Earth, from the shallow waters of the Caribbean to the dark depths of the ocean. When you dip your hand into these glowing waters, the movement creates sparks of light, as if the ocean itself is coming alive. In places like Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico, the glow is so bright that you can trace the path of a swimming turtle by the light it leaves behind. But bioluminescence is more than just a beautiful, mysterious sight. It serves a practical purpose. In some species, the glow helps to attract mates or lure prey. In others, it's a defense mechanism, producing light to confuse or deter predators. Just like the floating islands or the resilient plants in the desert, bioluminescent organisms have evolved unique strategies for survival in environments where visibility is limited, where darkness reigns. They've adapted to use light as a tool, a way to survive and thrive where most creatures would struggle. And then, there's the phenomenon of animals that can survive in boiling water. Yes, you heard that right, boiling water. In the deep ocean, around hydrothermal vents, some creatures not only survive in the extreme heat of water temperatures that can exceed 100 degrees Celsius, they actually thrive. These so-called extremophiles have evolved to withstand conditions that would destroy most life forms. The key to their survival lies in their proteins and cellular structures, which have been adapted to function at extreme temperatures. One such creature is the tube worm, which lives near hydrothermal vents and feeds on the chemicals released by the vent, thriving in the heat and darkness of the ocean floor. These extreme environments, like boiling water and dark caves, reveal just how adaptable life is. Whether it's the ability to survive freezing temperatures, to float across a lake, or to thrive in the heart of a volcano, nature's resilience is nothing short of awe-inspiring. But as we continue our journey, let's not forget that even in the most extreme, seemingly inhospitable places, life has found a way to not only survive, but flourish. From the frozen wilderness to the boiling depths of the ocean, nature constantly surprises us with its creativity, its adaptability, and its unyielding drive to sustain life. Whether it's the creatures that regenerate limbs or the plants that grow on floating islands, life has a way of defying the odds, of thriving in the most unexpected places. And as we continue to explore this incredible planet of ours, let's remember that there is always more to discover, more to learn, and more to marvel at. As we move further into the natural world's secrets, it's time to shift focus once again. This time, to an element of life that is both common and extraordinary at the same time: the immense power of water. It's a substance we interact with daily, whether it's drinking it, bathing in it, or simply marveling at its beauty when we see it cascading down waterfalls or crashing against the shore. But water, in its most extreme forms, also shapes the landscape in ways that we can't always predict. One of the most awe-inspiring and dramatic examples of water's power is the phenomenon of rogue waves. These waves are so massive and sudden that they seem to defy the natural order. They form without warning, towering over the surrounding sea, sometimes reaching heights of over 30 meters, taller than most ships. The term rogue wave was once thought to be a myth, a sailor's tale told to spook the inexperienced. But with modern technology, rogue waves have been recorded and measured by satellites and ocean sensors, revealing that these giant waves are very real and incredibly dangerous. But how do rogue waves form? It's a mystery that researchers are still trying to fully understand. The most widely accepted theory involves a phenomenon called constructive interference, where multiple smaller waves converge and combine their energy, creating a single, massive wave. These waves appear out of nowhere on a calm sea, without the usual stormy weather that you would associate with such giant walls of water. Rogue waves are rare, but when they appear, they can be deadly, sweeping ships off course or causing massive damage to anything in their path. And yet, they are part of the ocean's mysterious rhythms, a reminder that the sea is far more unpredictable than we may ever truly understand. In this way, the ocean challenges our assumptions about nature. It shows us that even in the calmest of conditions, the sea can hold surprises that are far beyond our expectations. But the ocean isn't the only place where water can surprise us. In fact, water plays such a crucial role in shaping the world that it often creates things that seem almost impossible, like lakes that change color depending on the season. Imagine standing by a lake, watching the water shift from deep blue to green, or even pink as the seasons change. This phenomenon happens in places like Lake Hiller in Australia, where the water has a natural bubblegum pink hue year-round, thanks to the unique microorganisms that live in the lake. In other lakes, color changes are more seasonal. As algae blooms and mineral content fluctuate, the lake's color shifts from vibrant greens to blues, creating a constantly changing visual landscape. It's a subtle but striking reminder of how water is a living, breathing entity that constantly changes and adapts to its environment. But there's more to water's transformative power than just color. Certain lakes defy the seasons entirely. They never freeze, no matter how cold it gets. In places like Antarctica, where temperatures can drop far below freezing, there are lakes that remain liquid throughout the year. Some of these lakes are fed by warm underground springs. Others are kept liquid by the pressure of the ice above them. These lakes create ecosystems that survive through the harshest conditions on Earth. The unique conditions allow creatures like fish and microbes to continue thriving even in the depths of winter, when the rest of the landscape is covered in ice. It's a reminder that even in the coldest, most inhospitable places, life finds a way to survive. Water's ability to shape the environment isn't limited to just lakes and oceans. It's also responsible for some of the most breathtaking features of our planet, such as the towering waterfalls that seem to stretch from the heavens. But what if I told you that some waterfalls in certain rare conditions actually flow upward? It sounds unbelievable, but it's true. In coastal cliffs, where strong winds are funneled upward against a rock face, waterfalls can appear to defy gravity. The powerful winds catch the falling water and push it back up, creating the illusion of an upside-down waterfall. This rare phenomenon can only be seen when the conditions are perfect, with the right combination of wind and water. When it happens, it's a stunning sight, as if nature itself is playing with the laws of physics, bending them just for a moment. And then there are waterfalls like Angel Falls in Venezuela, the tallest uninterrupted waterfall in the world, where the water cascades down from nearly 1,000 meters. This waterfall is a breathtaking sight, a reminder of the immense power of water to carve through rock and create some of the most awe-inspiring landscapes on Earth. The force of the water as it plunges down into the gorge below is a testament to the raw, untamed energy of nature. But what makes Angel Falls even more remarkable is its location. Hidden deep in the jungle, accessible only by small plane or long treks through the wilderness. It's one of those places that seems almost mythical, a hidden gem in the vast expanse of nature, waiting for those willing to take the journey to witness its beauty. Water's role in shaping the landscape isn't just limited to waterfalls or lakes, though. It also plays a crucial part in the creation of some of the most unusual and beautiful formations on Earth, like the glowing bays where the water lights up at night. These bioluminescent bays are filled with tiny organisms called dinoflagellates, which produce light when disturbed. The effect is subtle but mesmerizing. As you swim or move through the water, you create tiny sparks of light, like stars falling from the sky. The most famous example of this is Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico, where the water glows so brightly that you can trace the path of a swimming turtle by the light it leaves behind. It's a magical experience, one that feels like stepping into a dream, a world where the water itself seems to be alive with light. Bioluminescence is nature's way of using light in a way that's both beautiful and functional. For some species, the glow helps attract mates, while for others, it serves as a defense mechanism to confuse or scare away predators. In some cases, the light is used to lure prey, drawing them in close to be captured. But whatever the purpose, bioluminescence is a reminder that the natural world is full of wonders we can't always explain. From the glow of the ocean to the shifting colors of lakes, water has an uncanny ability to transform the world around it in ways that feel almost otherworldly. Yet, despite its beauty and power, water can also be a force of destruction. We've all heard about the devastation caused by floods and tsunamis, but there are other ways in which water can reshape the landscape, sometimes in surprising ways. Take, for example, the phenomenon of rivers that disappear underground and reappear miles away. In places like the Puerto Princesa underground river in the Philippines, rivers flow for miles beneath the surface, hidden from sight, until they emerge again in a different location. These subterranean rivers create unique ecosystems, as animals and plants adapt to life in the dark, and their flows shape the land above. The river's disappearance and reappearance serve as a reminder that, even in the most familiar places, the natural world is full of hidden surprises, waiting to be discovered. We've walked through dense forests, flown high above the earth with birds that never seem to stop moving, and witnessed the quiet magic of bioluminescent waters lighting up the night. We've seen how life can survive in places we never imagined, from the freezing cold to the boiling depths, and we've marveled at the resilience of life, whether it's regrowing limbs, surviving freezing temperatures, or transforming to adapt to the most extreme conditions. But before we end, let's dive into the heart of this journey, the ultimate mysteries that nature holds for us. the stories that remind us of how interconnected everything is, and how even the most hidden, obscure parts of the planet hold a secret to life's persistence. Let's start with the trees. Have you ever thought about how long trees live? In some places, there are trees that have stood for thousands of years, far longer than any of us can fathom. The bristlecone pines, for example, are among the oldest living organisms on Earth. Some of these trees are over 4,000 years old, older than most of the civilizations that have risen and fallen throughout human history. Imagine standing next to a tree that has been alive since before the Great Pyramids were built, still growing, still stretching toward the sky, surviving through centuries of changing climates, storms, and human development. It's awe-inspiring to think that something so ancient can still be alive and growing today, each ring in the tree's trunk telling the story of a year past, a living record of time itself. But the longevity of these trees isn't just about age. It's about how they've adapted to survive in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. The bristlecone pines grow slowly in the dry, rocky soils of the American West, withstanding high winds, extreme temperatures, and minimal rainfall. They don't just survive, they thrive, adapting to the changing environment over centuries, letting parts of themselves die off in tough years and growing back when conditions improve. The resilience of these trees is a testament to the power of adaptation, to the ability to persist even in the face of adversity. And just like these ancient trees, life on Earth continues to evolve, finding new ways to survive, adapt, and thrive in the face of challenges. But let's not just focus on the grand, ancient trees. What about the tiny, everyday organisms that we rarely notice? The ones that work behind the scenes to keep the planet's ecosystems balanced. For example, let's talk about the creatures that live in soil. Soil is teeming with life, far more than we realize. A single teaspoon of healthy soil can contain billions of microscopic organisms, including bacteria, fungi, and tiny animals like mites and nematodes. These organisms are the unsung heroes of the natural world, breaking down organic matter, recycling nutrients, and even communicating with plants through a network of chemical signals. They play an essential role in keeping ecosystems functioning. Without them, plants wouldn't have the nutrients they need to grow, and the entire food chain above the soil would collapse. This hidden world of life below the surface is a reminder that, just as in the sky above us or the ocean depths, the smallest creatures often have the biggest impact. And just as we've seen with the massive, ancient trees that hold centuries of history, it's the quiet, often invisible processes, like the communication between fungi and plants or the slow movement of soil organisms, that keep everything running smoothly. These tiny, often overlooked creatures are integral to life on Earth, showing us that nature's true power lies not in the loudest or most dramatic moments, but in the quiet, everyday exchanges that keep the balance intact. And it's not just the soil or the trees that are connected. Life on Earth is an intricate web of relationships, a network of interdependence that stretches from the tiniest microorganism to the largest predator. Take, for example, the amazing symbiotic relationships that exist in nature. Some of these partnerships are so intricate that they're almost impossible to understand without seeing them in action. One such relationship exists between ants and plants, specifically the myrmecophyte, plants that live in a mutualistic relationship with ants. The plant provides shelter and food for the ants, and in return, the ants protect the plant from herbivores. It's a partnership that has evolved over millions of years, with both species benefiting from the other's presence. And there are countless other examples of symbiosis, from the cleaner fish that eat parasites off the backs of larger fish to the pollinators that help plants reproduce in exchange for food. These symbiotic relationships are a perfect example of nature's interconnectedness, of how every creature, no matter how big or small, plays a role in keeping the system running smoothly. And just as these creatures rely on one another for survival, so too do humans rely on nature to thrive. From the food we eat to the air we breathe, from the water we drink to the shelter we find in the natural world, our lives are deeply connected to the ecosystems around us. The more we understand these connections, the more we can appreciate the beauty of the world around us and the delicate balance that sustains life on Earth. But as we've seen time and time again throughout our journey, nature is not a passive force. It's a powerful, ever-changing system, constantly adapting and evolving in response to the challenges it faces. And sometimes, those changes are dramatic. Think about the desert, for example. Deserts are often seen as barren, lifeless places, but they are far from empty. They are home to an incredible array of plants and animals that have adapted to survive in extreme conditions. Some plants, like the cactus, store water in their stems, allowing them to survive years of drought. Others, like the hardy desert grasses, have evolved deep root systems that can tap into underground water reserves. And let's not forget the animals that thrive in the desert, from the nocturnal creatures that come out when the sun sets to the hardy reptiles that can go without water for months at a time. Even in the harshest, most extreme environments, life finds a way to adapt. It's a reminder that nature is always at work, always evolving, always finding new ways to survive. And in this process, nature teaches us a valuable lesson. Survival isn't just about enduring. It's about adapting, evolving, and changing in response to the challenges we face. Whether we're looking at ancient trees that have survived for millennia, tiny soil creatures that keep the planet's ecosystems balanced, or desert plants and animals that thrive in the harshest conditions, nature shows us that life is resilient, life is creative, and life is always finding a way to continue. As we finish our journey, it's important to take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. The natural world is vast, full of mysteries, and yet it is more interconnected and harmonious than we could ever fully comprehend. From the smallest creatures in the soil to the tallest trees in the forest, from the deep oceans to the endless sky, life on Earth is part of an intricate web that sustains us all. As we continue to learn more about this world, we're reminded of just how fragile and precious life is, and how we must continue to protect the delicate balance that keeps it all going. And so, as we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect on the beauty, the mystery, and the resilience of life. Whether you're gazing at the stars above or standing on the earth beneath your feet, remember that life is always adapting, always evolving, always finding a way to survive and thrive. Nature's wonders never end, and there's always more to discover if we're willing to look closely enough. Now, take a deep breath, let go of any thoughts or worries, and let the peaceful rhythm of nature carry you into a restful sleep. The world outside may be busy, but here, in the quiet, you can drift off knowing that life is always at work, silently, beautifully, and endlessly. As you let your thoughts gently drift, remember that nature's endless beauty and mysteries are always with you, quietly, waiting to be discovered. The world around us, though vast and often unseen, is teeming with life in ways we can't always comprehend. From the smallest organisms beneath the soil to the majestic trees that stand for millennia, life is full of surprises, each more wondrous than the last. The resilience, adaptability, and creativity of nature remind us that even in the most difficult conditions, life finds a way to not just survive, but to thrive. Take a deep breath and let the calm of the evening settle over you. You've journeyed through the magic of bioluminescent bays, the power of glaciers, and the quiet strength of ancient trees. You've seen the way the earth breathes with its forests, clouds, and oceans. And now, as you rest, know that the wonders of this world will still be here when you awake, silent, constant, and full of stories waiting to be heard. Let yourself sink into this peaceful moment, feeling the softness of the air around you, the rhythm of your breathing becoming slower, deeper. You are part of this beautiful, ever-changing world, even in your stillness. As you close your eyes, Let the sense of awe and wonder from today's journey fill you with peace. You are cradled by the earth's gentle embrace. And as you fall asleep, you carry with you the quiet knowledge that life, in all its forms, continues to weave its intricate web, endlessly, without end. Now, allow the stillness of the night to guide you into a deep, restful sleep. Let your mind wander like the wind through the trees, knowing that tomorrow will bring more beauty, more mysteries, and more of nature's wonders waiting for you to explore.